The sun was beginning to set over the busy city as people rushed through the streets, eager to finish their workday and return home. Cars filled the roads. Buses stopped and started at crowded stations. Street vendors shouted the prices of hot tea and bread. But in the middle of all that noise, one young man stood still on the corner of a busy intersection. His name was Ethan. And in that moment, his entire life was hanging on one decision. Ethan was 24 years old, but the last few years had aged him far beyond his age. 3 years earlier, he had been a hopeful university student studying computer science. He had dreams of building technology that could change lives. But dreams can feel very fragile when life becomes difficult. During his final year of university, Ethan's mother became seriously ill. Hospital visits became part of his daily routine. Medical bills began piling up. To support his family, Ethan started working nights while attending classes during the day. Sleep became a luxury he rarely had. Eventually, the pressure became too much. He failed several courses and had to leave school just months before graduation. At first, he told himself he would return later, but later never seemed to come. Instead, Ethan found himself jumping from one small job to another. Delivery driver, store assistant, warehouse worker. None of them paid enough to solve his problems. Still, Ethan kept trying. Every night he came home exhausted but opened his laptop and continued studying programming on his own. He watched free tutorials, practiced coding, built small projects that almost no one would ever see. Sometimes he wondered if it was pointless, but something inside him refused to stop learning. One afternoon, while working a delivery shift, Ethan received an email. The subject line read, "Application invitation, Novatech internship program." He frowned. Months earlier, Ethan had applied to dozens of tech companies. Most of them never replied. Some sent polite rejections, but Novatech was different. Novatech was one of the most respected technology companies in the country. Their internship program was extremely competitive. Thousands applied. Very few were selected. Ethan opened the email carefully. His eyes widened as he read, "Dear Ethan, your application caught our attention. We would like to invite you to participate in the final interview process for our internship program." Ethan stared at the screen in disbelief. Final interview. His heart started beating faster, but then reality quickly followed. The interview would take place the next morning at 9 a.m., and Ethan had a problem. A big one. That same morning, he was scheduled to work a long delivery shift, a shift he desperately needed. Missing it could mean losing his job, and losing his job meant losing the little income his family depended on. Ethan closed the laptop slowly. The choice felt impossible. If he went to work, he would keep the money his family needed, but he might lose the opportunity that could change his future. If he went to the interview, he might risk everything. That evening, Ethan sat with his mother in the small living room of their apartment. She noticed the worry on his face. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. Ethan hesitated. Then he explained everything. The email, the interview, the shift at work, the impossible decision. His mother listened quietly. Then she smiled gently. "Ethan," she said, "do you remember when you were 10 years old and tried to fix the broken computer at home?" Ethan laughed slightly. "I made it worse." "Yes," she said, smiling, "but you didn't stop until you fixed it." Ethan nodded. "You've always been someone who solves problems," she continued. Then she looked at him seriously. "But sometimes the biggest problem in life is fear." Ethan stared at the floor. "What if I fail?" he asked. His mother reached over and held his hand. "Then you will fail knowing you tried," she said. "But if you don't go, you will always wonder what might have happened." That night, Ethan barely slept. His mind replayed the decision again and again. Finally, when morning arrived, he stood in front of the mirror tying his only clean tie. His phone buzzed, a reminder for his delivery shift. For a moment, he almost picked up the phone to cancel the interview. But then he remembered his mother's words, and he made the choice. He turned off the delivery app and walked out the door. When Ethan arrived at the Novatech building, his hands felt cold and nervous. The building was tall and modern, with glass walls reflecting the bright morning sunlight. Inside, dozens of applicants waited in the lobby. Many looked confident. Some wore expensive suits, Ethan suddenly felt under-prepared. But the interview process lasted several hours. Technical tests, problem-solving challenges, group discussions. At one point, the interviewer asked a question that made everyone pause. Tell us about a time you faced a major setback. Many candidates spoke about minor mistakes or small failures. When it was Ethan's turn, he told the truth. He spoke about leaving university, about working nights, about supporting his family, about teaching himself programming when everyone else was sleeping. The room became quiet. One of the interviewers leaned forward. "And why didn't you give up?" she asked. Ethan smiled slightly, because quitting wouldn't solve anything. 2 weeks later, Ethan received another email. His hands trembled as he opened it. "Dear Ethan, congratulations. You've been selected for the Novatech internship program." Ethan stared at the screen, hardly believing it. The choice he made that morning had changed everything. Years later, Ethan would become a senior engineer at Novatech, helping develop software used by millions of people. But whenever young students asked him about success, he always told them the same story. Not about technology, not about coding, but about a single morning when he stood at a crossroads and made the hardest decision of his life. Because sometimes, one small choice made in a moment of uncertainty can quietly shape the rest of your future. And the difference between the life you have and the life you dream about often comes down to one simple decision. Whether you choose fear or courage.